Hello, my friends. How are you today? It's Sue from Sue Pellin Designs, and we are here today to play once again here on Sewing in Slippers with Sue. Every week at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays, we play with something quilty, and you never know what it's going to be. We have different topics all the time, but it's a time to tap into your creativity and do something with applique together with me. So if you've been following along for the past month or so, I've been playing with an under the sea landscape. And today we're going to add to that landscape, but I just wanted to talk to you about some other things first, because if you read my newsletter and you read my blog, you know that I've had a lot going on in my quilting world. So good morning, everybody. Glad to see you popping on there. Let me know what your name is and where you're coming from, because I do not see your names on the comments here in StreamYard, unless you give StreamYard permission to use your name. So today I wanted to talk to you a little about the scams on the internet that I've been dealing with. And I hate to talk about a negative topic. That's just not me. But I also want to make sure that you are aware of what's going on out there so you don't get caught in one of these scams. So it all started when my mom and I were talking on Zoom. Mom's in Texas, I'm here in Massachusetts, and on every Monday night we talk on Zoom with my whole family. My brothers and sisters get together and we all chat with Mom for an hour just so that we can connect, and Zoom is such a wonderful way to connect with people. I've been using Zoom for my live workshops for almost 4 years now. And it's such a wonderful platform that when the pandemic happened, I asked Mom if she'd like to Zoom with us every week so that we all feel much more connected, especially during that time when I wasn't allowed to go and visit her. Janet from New York, the sun is shining, welcome. And Elaine from Mississauga, Ontario, welcome, Elaine. Okay, so my mom is named Elaine as well. So my mom and I were chatting on Zoom with my brother and my sisters, and my mom let it out that she had gotten caught in a little bit of a scam. She had bought postage stamps online. Mom has just given up her car and her license. So she was taking advantage of an online offer to send her a roll of stamps at the current rate. And she knew the Postal Service was going to be increasing their rates. So when the Postal Service wrote to her in an email and said, we're going to send you some stamps, all you need to do is confirm your order here and put in your credit card info, she said, oh, that's so wonderful. That will save me finding a ride to the post office. So these scams are often aimed at older people that A, can't get around as easily as before, or B, just want the convenience of home delivery. There's been many scams that my mom has thwarted by being a savvy consumer. But this one from the U.S. Postal Service was so official. On U.S. Postal Service letterhead, in an email direct to her. It just looked perfect. It looked normal, and she didn't hurt. That red flag just never went up. So luckily, her bank was able to stop payment to this company because they knew that company name. They knew it wasn't the Postal Service, and they caught it at the bank level. So luckily, our banks are looking out for us too. But as a savvy consumer, I just want to give you a few hints on how not to get caught in these scams. So if somebody emails you, you would never ever want to share any personal information through an email. The Postal Service, Social Security, all of those government entities, they do not email individuals. So don't get caught in an email scam where they're emailing individuals and they have your name. Yes, they can get all of that information from many different sources. So they can pretend that they know you. They can pretend to have some of your information, but make sure that you're not giving out your social security number or your credit card number to anybody over email. Now, you might say, but I'm going to call them and I'm going to verify it's them. These people are so crooked that they know exactly what to say to gain your confidence and to get your personal information. So I'm going to recommend that you don't ever give your personal information over an email. Now, how is that different from somebody like me who does email marketing? I'm always sending out emails and linking you to special offers through my website. Well, first of all, you know me. You have met me before on my personal live interactions when we have free live webinars. And so there's a certain amount of trust there that happens because I'm inviting you into my sewing room here. You know I'm legit. You know my website has products. There are testimonials on there from real live people. So unless you personally know the person that is emailing you, and we're going to get to that in just a second too, then you can assume it's a scam. And that's what I want you to do. I want the first thing that comes into your mind is this a scam? Now, if it's an email, I want you to look at who it's from, okay? If that email were from the U.S. Postal Service, it would have been the uspostalservice.gov. It would be a .gov website. So you can often tell by the ending of the website if it's a .com, if it's a .net, if it's a .org or a .gov. You can often tell by the website if that email is legitimate or not. And I've caught so many scams just by looking at the email that it's coming from to make sure that it is actually a legitimate email address. Now, if you're unsure, just don't do it. Okay, so another scam that came up that many of you heard about because I put it in my newsletter this week. Oh, let me say one more thing about those personal emails. Another way that scammers can get to you is through Facebook or any other social media platform. So don't think it's just Facebook, any social media platform. What these people do is they steal other people's identity. So another scam that my mom was a victim of, but she didn't fall for it, was my cousin sent her a Facebook message. And that Facebook message said he got some great Social Security benefits by calling this number and talking to these people that were able to get him better Social Security benefits. Once again, these companies are preying on unsuspecting older people. So I want my quilters, because a lot of you are a little bit older, you're at that age where you're collecting Social Security. It's easy to fall for these scams. They look so legitimate. So my cousin wrote to her under his name on Facebook and said, you need to take a look at this company that got me all these additional Social Security benefits. Now that red flag went off in my mom's head. Why would her nephew that she hadn't heard from for quite a while, he does go visit her from time to time, but she hadn't heard from him for quite a while, and several days in a row he sent her these messages over Facebook about these benefits. So her red flag went off right away and she didn't fall for that scam. And I'm so grateful. She's getting more savvy and more careful. And that's really important, that we all stay careful on the internet. Now, I've mentioned several times that these people are targeting older people. That is true. That doesn't mean that there aren't scams out there targeted at younger people. they know their audience and they know who's going to fall for these different scams. So I'm seeing ones that are aimed at older people because I'm older and my mom is getting older. So those are the ones that I'm currently seeing. But let me tell you about the scam that I got caught up in. One of my customers wrote to me and she said, "Can I buy my templates from this company on the internet? They are selling them much cheaper than you, and I'm going to get free shipping." Now that set up red flags for me because I don't sell my templates to any company that is going to mail order them. My templates are only sold in quilt stores and on my website. And right now there's very few quilt stores that have them. Because of the pandemic, I haven't been marketing to quilt stores. So it's mainly just on my website. So red flags went up in my world, and so I went to this company. It's called Thurganics. Thurganics. I'm going to put that in the chat. It's Thurganics.com. Well, I've been doing a little investigating because I was very frustrated when my customer asked me about this company. So I went ahead and I ordered from Thurganics. Now, what they have on their website is my photos, actually with my name on it and my Leaves Galore trademarked name. So I have my trademark information here. Not that you need to know about it, but a legitimate company is going to trademark their brand. And this is my Leaves Galore trademark from the U.S. Patent Office. And not only do they have my Leaves Galore templates on that website, they also have the Hearts and More. Both are trademarked, and the Hearts and More templates, I have my own patent on those tools. Leaves Galore has a patent as well. Belongs to somebody else, and I pay her a royalty fee to use her patent. So the Leaves Galore tools are patented. There's a patent number on them. Even that information was on their website because they simply took a photograph of my tool with the patent number and put it up on their website. So I said, let's see what happens when I order from them. How can I do this with a smile on my face? Because I've been dealing with this for years. There have always been knockoffs. There have always been problems. And yes, it's extremely frustrating. It's exasperating. But at the same time, it's gonna happen. And I just have to realize that when you're in business and you have a successful product, other people are gonna take advantage of you. So I went ahead and I ordered from Thurganics. And this is the package that I got. No matter how you do it, you're not gonna fit my Leaves Galore Petite tool in that package. So they had the Leaves Galore Petite, Norm, and Grand on their website. I ordered the Petite because I didn't want to spend a lot of money. So I only spent $15 or $16 to get this product. On their website, it said you're going to get the template and you're going to get full written instructions. Well, lo and behold, here is the little template that I received in the mail. Right? Flimsy little template plastic, like you would make your templates for cutting out regular leaves. And it's 8 inches long. Now, if you look on their website, you will see that it says it's 8 inches long. But all of the photos show the 15-inch ruler exactly as it is here. So this is just a total scam where they send you this flimsy little bit of useless plastic with no instructions whatsoever. And that cost me $15 or $6, I think with tax and everything else, it was probably about $20. Yeah, free shipping. Because it came in this little plastic envelope. Isn't that awful? I know, it's just terrible. So when you look up this company online, they have an address in Ohio, I believe it is. And one of my students went ahead and looked up that company in Ohio, and it's a medical building. There is no Thorganics company at that address. Now, these companies, they are Chinese companies. I'm saying companies because there are more than one. This is just the one that I'm currently dealing with. This company shipped from Ontario, California. So they must have a warehouse there or a cutting facility there where they cut this little plastic template. Then I said, well, how can they do free shipping? Even this package would cost me $5 or $6 to ship through the U.S. Postal Service. Well, because the company is from China, and because China is a, how do they call it? It has some classification where it's kind of an underdeveloped country. And through the U.S. Postal Service, they can ship things at next to nothing for their shipping rates. Where for me, a U.S.-based company shipping within the U.S. would pay $5 to $7 for this exact same package. Something's wrong here, and there's something that we can do about it. So I have contacted Facebook because that's where they're advertising. That's where my customers saw their ads pop up with my tools, 3 tools in the advertisement. They are spending millions of dollars, maybe not millions. They're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars ripping off other people's information and selling it on their website. Why do I say hundreds of thousands of dollars? Because I know what it takes for me to advertise on Facebook. And I run ads on Facebook for about $1,000 at a time. And you might occasionally see one of my ads. Their ads are popping up everywhere. So their advertising budget is huge. Now, why would they spend that much on advertising and sell this terrible little product that they know is going to get them in all kinds of trouble with their customers? Their ratings are going to go just down in the dumps because of the products that they're selling. Why would they do that? Because now they have all of my personal information. I paid through PayPal so that I knew it would be protected, but I could have paid with my credit card. And I could have put my credit card number right into the box there with the CVV code, with my zip code. Everything is there. So they can scam my credit card and use it for unauthorized purchases. Now, I'm not saying that that's 100% what they're doing. I don't know. But why would they sell these terrible products if it weren't, and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on advertising? Why would they do that if it weren't to get your personal information? So I am on a little vendetta here to get this company shut down on Facebook. So what I'm going to suggest is, if you see an ad for Thorganics, because you're quilters, these ads might start popping up on your feed. I want you to report this company if you get an ad from them. Go ahead and report the company and cancel that ad. Okay? So that will protect you from seeing more ads like that, right? When you tell Facebook you don't want to see those ads, they're going to stop sending those ads to you so that you will not be as likely to get caught up in one of these scams. Okay, so off my soapbox, but I just had to do that. I had to explain what was happening because so many people wrote to me after the newsletter article came out and asked me what was going on, and they wanted more information. So just to let you know, I have put in a complaint with Facebook, I have put in a complaint with PayPal, and I have asked for brand protection on Facebook. That would watch out for my trademarks, and if my trademarks show up elsewhere, Facebook would block those companies. So I'm hoping that some of this is going to work. Unfortunately, it's probably going to mean me hiring a lawyer and going through that process. But I'm not discouraged. I know that my loyal customers, my fan base, my email list that follows me, They know me. They know that that's a scam. I'm not concerned that it's going to greatly hurt my business, but I also don't want to be taken advantage of, so I'm not going to just let this go. Okay. Brenda from Pennsylvania, excellent. You've also seen blankets printed on from notable quilt patterns without permission of the artists. Absolutely. I haven't ordered one of those blankets because I don't want to waste my money, but I don't know what you're going to get. They're definitely printed blankets. They advertise them as quilts, but they are not quilts. They're printed quilt patterns with my patterns. Yeah, I'm out there. I'm on that company as well. I've let that go because it just doesn't affect my actual business of selling the tools. This one is directly aimed at my business, so I'm a little bit more irate with this one. But yes, they are out there. And so I'm going to team up with some of the other designers that are also being targeted. Okay, so enough about that. I don't want to bring you down. I don't want to get you into that legal battle, but I wanted you to understand how to protect yourself from these scams. If somebody contacts you through Facebook, and it's somebody that you haven't heard from in a long time, just put up that little red flag. Doesn't mean that you can't talk to them. Like if my mom had called my cousin and said, hey, did you message me on Facebook? He would have said, no, Auntie Lane, I didn't do that. Did you tell me about some Social Security benefits that you got? Absolutely not. He would have told her no. She didn't get to that point where she needed to call him, but that would have been her next step. And I want you to think about that. If somebody's contacting you out of the blue that you haven't heard from in a long time, give them a phone call. See if it's really them. If somebody contacts you by email, same thing. Reach out to them. If it's somebody you know, give them a phone call. You want to talk to them. And if you don't know them, you want to look at their email address. And 9 times out of 10, you can tell immediately if it's a scam just by that return email address. If in doubt, don't do it. Don't give out your personal information. All right, so we're going to move on and we're going to talk about some of the projects that I have around me. Now, I didn't put my Under the Sea project up this morning because I'm going to be teaching Unchain My Heart very soon. So I put up my Unchain My Heart quilt. And I love those colors because it reminds me of that Under the Sea pattern, all those beautiful Cape facet prints. Well, I did get a bolt of Cape facet Millefiori. The Millefiori is one of his most famous prints. You can see it up here in blue on this quilt right here. This is the Millefiori print. I got a bolt of the wide back for the pastel color of that Millefiori. Now I sent it over to my warehouse, so I don't have it here, but I wanted to let you know it's a new product up on the website. Those of you that are making any Cape facet quilt, if you're making a larger quilt like a double queen or king, you might want to get the wide back fabric, which is over 90 inches. That 90-inch fabric, is it 90? Is it 108? I'm going to have to look on the website. Anyway, that fabric, you have to remember that there is going to be shrinkage on that fabric. So if you wash your backs before you add them to your quilts, you're not going to get the full 108. So be aware of that, especially if you're making a king size quilt. Even the wide backs may not be quite wide enough. Yes, good idea. Okay. If a business emails you, don't use the number on the email. Look it up separately. That's a great idea because the number in the email is obviously going to go to their call center where they're all trained to scam you. If you have a business email, such as the U.S. Postal Service, to verify that that's a legitimate email, my mom could have called the U.S. Postal Service. Now, she didn't think of that because it looked so legitimate. But that's a great idea. Don't ever use the numbers in the email. Look it up separately. Okay, perfect. Thanks for that advice. I really appreciate all of you trying to keep each other safe on the internet. Okay, so the other quilt that I have back here is Hope's Diamond. Now, why do I have Hope's Diamond back up there? Well, we recently did that as a workshop in our Ahead of the Curve membership. But just to let you know, if you are not in Ahead of the Curve membership and you want to make that quilt, there is a pattern for Hope's Diamond. So you can get the pattern for Hope's Diamond right there on my website. I'm just going to go grab that my pattern page. I'm just going to go take a look at my pattern page. So I go to SuePellinDesigns.com. I hit the shop button. Then I look at Applique Patterns for the Leaves Galore tool. And these are all drop-down menus, by the way. So I know you're not seeing what I'm seeing right now, but I'm going to grab the Hope's Diamond PDF pattern link, and I'm going to put that link into the chat, because I want you to see what's possible. Even if you are not an Ahead of the Curve member, you can make Hope's Diamond by following the PDF instructions that you can get directly to your inbox. Now, if you order the PDF pattern on Sue Pellin Designs, that PDF stays in your account. So you are able to download it and print it. That way, if you ever lose it or you spilled coffee on your pattern, or if anything happens to that pattern, you can go and print it out again. If you ever have trouble printing it, just notify me. I think we have to set a number of downloads. I think it might be 7 or 9 or something like that. But if you ever get to the end of your downloads and you haven't been able to get your pattern printed, just let me know. As long as you've purchased that pattern, no problem to extend that number of downloads. So the same thing with Unchain My Heart. Unchain My Heart would be under the, I'm going to share my screen. It's going to be under the pattern page. So how did I get to the pattern page? I went to the shop. Let's see, on the home page here, I went to the shop, I went to Applique Patterns, Applique Patterns from Hearts and More, or Applique Patterns from Leaves Galore. So Hearts and More are the patterns that I want to look at. Now, some patterns fit in both categories, because something like All Hallows Eve, that is a PDF pattern as well. It uses the Leaves Galore as well as the Hearts and More tools. But if you go down here to Unchain My Heart, that's another one of those patterns that I am teaching in the Applique membership called Ahead of the Curve. But if you are not one of those workshop people, if you don't enjoy taking workshops and you would rather do that on your own, you can absolutely download the PDF pattern, and that will get you all the information you need to make this quilt as well. Okay, so I'm going to stop that screen share, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on doing a little creativity with you today. Now, I love to spend half of my time with you talking about a particular topic. Today it was about how to avoid scams, and so we talked about that for our first half an hour, and for this next half an hour, let's just have some fun together. So I'm going to keep going on the theme of the under the sea. Okay, I'm trying to change my camera here. Hold on just a second. Let's see. I'm looking for my other camera. Okay, I'm going to go to my overhead camera, and I want to go ahead and show you what I'm going to work on today and another thing that I have coming up. So on my website, I often do make kits for different projects. So this is the wall basket project that will eventually be a PDF pattern. Right now, this is going to be our December project for Ahead of the Curve. Well, I made this pattern out of this beautiful Tim Holtz fabric called Dictionary. I thought this fabric was very appropriate because it's neutral. And then when I decorate this for the seasons, we're going to have different clips here that we can put on the front of this for the different seasons. I thought that neutral color was really nice. But then I realized that in my stash of fabric for kits, I also have this beautiful barn board fabric. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun to make the inside of the basket with the Tim Holtz fabric and the outside edge of the basket with the barn board fabric. Of course, if you love the barn board fabric, you could do the whole thing. Now, when we're making a project like this, I actually start off with quilted fabric. But inside the quilted fabric, I'm using the Stiff Stuff Stabilizer by Lazy Girl Designs. Now, you know my friend Joan at Lazy Girl Designs. She passed away about 2 years ago. Now, her company has been sold to, my goodness, I'm forgetting the name. It'll come to me. But anyway, another company that is in the quilting world picked up all of her products, including the stiff stuff too. So she is going by Freebird as well as Lazy Girl Designs. So the Lazy Girl Designs stiffener is still available, and I've started to make kits. Now, on my piece, I used just a scrap of fabric I had for the background. So the next time I make this, I'm going to put the barn board on the background, and I'm going to put the Tim Holtz fabric on the other side. That way, when you quilt your fabric, you have either side that you can use in the project. So why am I making a kit for this project? Because the stiff stuff too might be hard to find. I have both fabrics that are matching that I think are absolutely perfect for this project. So the kit will include both fabrics as well as the stiff stuff. And you're going to need a metal ring. It's a 6-inch ring, so we're going to need a metal ring for this, and some cording for the handle. So all of those items are going to be in the kit. Now, the kits aren't available yet, but I just wanted to let you know that they will be available, and I'm going to try to get those done soon so you can get prepared for that December workshop. So I'm going to put that aside for now, and let's talk about our Under the Sea project. So let's get rid of that fabric there. I was cutting kits for that. And I want to talk about our Under the Sea project. Before I do, I just wanted to share one more thing. I keep taking things out and putting them on my table so I don't forget to tell you about them. At my quilt show last weekend, I received a ribbon. Now, I wasn't at the show, so I wasn't there to get my ribbon. So I wanted to show this to you. I love this idea. I thought this was such a clever way to award the winners a ribbon. It's an acrylic number 2 for second place, and it's made in a mold with that acrylic that you could add different things to. So she's put some sparkly glitter in there, and she actually put the words, she cut out the words, large bed quilt and second place, and put it inside the mold, and then poured the acrylic over the top to make this beautiful ribbon, second place ribbon for this was mint chocolate. My current show quilt is off at Grand Rapids, Michigan, and then it went to Des Moines, Iowa. So I don't have my quilt back. So for my own quilt show, I had to show one of my older quilts. So this one was for mint chocolate. But isn't that adorable? What a novel idea for awarding ribbons at a quilt show. So I thought I'd just share that with you. So let me get that off my table and get to the project at hand. Okay, the project at hand is working again on our Under the Sea quilt. So I was at a different quilt show this weekend, and at that quilt show, let me come back to you over here for just a minute. At that quilt show, I was supposed to be vending, but it didn't happen. my tax ID number got messed up and I wasn't able to get my tax ID number in time, so I didn't vend at the show because legally I have to charge sales tax in any state that I vend. So my my Rhode Island sales tax ID did not come through. So I went to the show anyway because these are dear friends of mine that I just love and I wanted to support them in their show. So here I was at the show and they gave me a ribbon to award to one of the quilts. And having just gotten the second place ribbon myself, and you know how much fun that is to get ribbons, I thought it was such a pleasure that this guild allows their vendors to award one quilt a vendor ribbon. So I was given a vendor ribbon and I was able to choose a quilt. So I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to show this quilt, which I did have in my newsletter. This is the quilt that I awarded a ribbon. Isn't it amazing? Look at that border. This quilt is up against another quilt with a blue background. So the white border that has the scallop, that white border is loose and free. That's her binding. That's the finish on her quilt. Don't look at the blue behind it. That's a different quilt hanging behind. The white border with the points on the corner, all of that was finished that way. It was a spectacular quilt. And she did all of the quilting by herself, and in her quilting she also had blue work for the different elements from under the sea. So I just thought that this little guy was so cute, and there were so many different motifs. And one of the motifs that I really loved in her quilting was this pretty little sand dollar. Now look at all the wavy quilting behind. That was done on her domestic machine. Yeah, Sandra Mitra, president of Quilters by the Sea. She will be our special guest next Tuesday on Sewing in Slippers with Sue. So here's another one of her quilted motifs. So if you want to see more about that quilt, next week Sandra will be here as my special guest on Sewing in Slippers. But before we see Sandra's quilt and all of the detail, I want to take this as my inspiration for today and see if we can come up with a beautiful little sand dollar that we can put on our Under the Sea quilt. So that's where I'm going to go and change my camera to make sure that you can see what I'm doing. So hold on, let me get back to that camera again. There we go. Okay, so one thing was the sand dollar. I thought that was really beautiful. And then I went and looked and I found an abalone shell, just a little tiny one that I had in my collection of shells. And something else that I found in my collection was this sea fan. Now I guess this would qualify as coral. I don't remember where I picked it up, but I actually did find this on the shoreline when I was walking along, and I don't remember where it was from. But it is very hard, so it's not as delicate as it looks, but look at the texture of that sea fan. Isn't that amazing? So I thought that we could play with the sea fan today as well. To do the sea fan, I'm going to need some Sulky Solvy. Now I like the Sulky Solvy that when you put it in water, it dissolves. Now this is not that product. I've run out of that one. This one is a heat away clear film. A heat removable topping stabilizer. So I'm going to try this product today that I've never tried before. I have a whole bolt of it and I can't remember who recommended it and why I bought it. But I'm going to cut off a piece of this heat stabilizer And I'm going to use my octi hoops in order to control this stabilizer under my needle. So I'm going to grab my octi hoops. I'm going to use the little pencils here that fit in, the little pegs that fit in, so I can control this stabilizer and move it around under my needle. So in order to make this fan, I'm not quite sure I want it this large, but I certainly could use that exact outline, and I could just mark that with a permanent marker or with a pencil, and I could simply go around the shape of this fan and make something similar to it on the stabilizer. So now I've got this basic shape on the stabilizer with a black magic marker. Now, I like that I did it the same size. I could have done it smaller and it would have fit within my octi hoops. But I like this because I can show you that even though the whole design doesn't fit in octi hoops, I'm going to be able to start drawing this design with my thread on the heat away stabilizer. Now normally I would use a wash away stabilizer, but this is the one I had on hand, and I'm all about using what you've got. So I want to reproduce this texture on the fan using my sewing machine. So it's going to be quite heavy down here because that's where the fan was growing from. Then it's going to have some branches that come up, and they branch up and they go all the way up this fan. So I'm just going to draw some lines to simulate those branches. Now if you look all at the real minute detail, I'm going to put this on black so I think you'll be able to see it a little bit better. If you look at the minute detail, it almost looks like straight lines with little leaves coming off those straight lines. It is so intricate and so beautiful. And I just thought, wouldn't this be a fun project to do? I know it's not applique, but it is. We're going to be forming this shape using our thread play, and I'm sorry, my camera's taking a minute to refocus, so just give it a minute and it will refocus on my hands eventually. So we're going to do thread play on the stabilizer. Once we heat away the stabilizer, all we're going to be left with is the thread. That thread can then be used as an applique on our Under the Sea project. So how am I going to stitch this out? Let me change cameras because that one is not wanting to focus anyway. And we're going to bring our stabilizer over to our sewing machine. Now on my sewing machine, I have put this beautiful thread from Wonderfill. This is the Wonderfill Tootie thread. I'm trying to get some light on the subject there so you can see it. It's the Wonderfill Tootie thread, and it's a combination of pink and gray and beige. It's just such a beautiful combination of colors. I thought that that would be a spectacular way to make this this sea fan. So I'm going to take off my regular foot on my machine. I'm going to be free motion quilting. So I'm going to add my free motion quilting foot. Now I'm sewing on an Elna sewing machine. My foot might look a little bit different from yours, but most of them, they're all the same basic type of thing. Oh, I'm getting caught here. Hold on. Let me get this around my needle. Oh, that's better. Okay. So now I'm going to set my machine up for a regular straight stitch. Now, if you can lower your feed dogs, I want you to lower your feed dogs when you're doing stitching on a thread play project. So let's see if I can get this right on there. I'm going to bring my needle up and down. I want to grab onto that bottom thread and get that up on the top. Now my bottom thread is just a regular beige thread. In fact, it's the 80 weight. It's also a Wonderfill, and it's a Deco-Bob thread. The Deco-Bob thread is very fine. It's an 80 weight polyester thread, and I just want to make sure that my foot's on nice and tight. Now I want to reproduce this little fan pattern on my stabilizer. So I've got the stabilizer right here. I'm going to put this up under my machine. Now I'm going to stretch that stabilizer, and then I'm going to hold it in place with the second octi hoop. Now this is going to take a lot of thread, so we're not going to get very far with this project today, but I just want to show you how the octi hoops together with my free motion quilting is going to be a beautiful way to get this fan design on the stabilizer with thread play. Okay, so let's get started. We're just going to do basically an outline of what we want to fill in. Now I'm controlling this with my hands. I am not relying on the machine to do my stitch length. I'm actually controlling this all with my hands, and I'm going to go back and forth. Let's just give that a little stretch. I'm just going to go back and forth over those same lines over and over again until I get the basic outline that I want to create with my thread. So one little stitching line is not going to hold together, but I know that I'm going to get quite heavy in here with my stitching. I'm going to go over and over and over again to build up that thread all along these lines. Now, with the octi hoops, you do have to keep your hands on either side of your work to spread your work, and then you're going to use these little handles in order to move your fabric, or in this case, my stabilizer. Okay, these lines that go up and down, I need these to be quite heavy because there's thinner lines in between them that have all of those little leaf shapes coming off of them. So this is going to take a lot of thread and a lot of thread play. Now as I'm working with this thread, it's building up, and the color might not quite be what I was looking for. I might need it to be a little bit more darker tan color. So I can certainly go ahead and change threads. After I have the basic outline, I can change my threads and go over it over and over again until it builds up the color and the texture that I'm looking for. So now I'm going to go around the base of that fan, and I really want to go over this many, many times in order to build up that thread. Okay, for those of you that did the workshop with me, that was the tree workshop. We did a workshop where we made our own trees, and those trees were made out of scraps of Misty Fused fabric. We used this same technique, and we used 2 layers of the solvay. Those 2 layers of the solvay kept all of those little bits and pieces in between the layers of the stabilizer. So we used little green flecks of fabric, just leftover pieces of fused fabric that we had from other projects, and we put those green flecks of fabric between our layers, and then we did thread play like this over those layers to make branches in order to make some beautiful little trees. What I'm doing now is I'm making the lacy look to the inside of that fan just by going over those lines over and over again and keeping a little bit of space. It's almost an S-shaped curve like we make with our Leaves Galore tool. Okay, so you get the idea there. Now I'm not sure how well you're seeing the actual thread play, so I'm going to move my camera. I'm going to get it down a little bit more on the thread itself, and I'll do one more layer of thread. Now I think I may need to change my thread color and do another line over this line with a different thread color. But I think that this technique is just absolutely perfect to make this beautiful sea fan, and I think it'll be great fun to add a piece of coral like this to our underwater scene, and it's going to be absolutely beautiful when it's done. Now, one thing that I'm noticing that I don't care for with this particular product is it is shrinking up quite a bit as I'm doing my stitching. So it may be that a traditional hoop might be better for this type of thread play rather than the octi hoops. A traditional hoop would hold it a little tighter and it wouldn't tend to shrink up quite as much. But I'm really curious about continuing to use these octi hoops for this project, and I want to see if I can complete the project just using the octi hoops. I'll let you know how that goes. Now, I'm not going to be able to complete the project today, but I want to do just enough so when I get close up to that camera, you'll be able to see the lacy look of this pattern. Now, where my branching is getting too close together, I'm just going to put in another branch, go over it a couple of times, and then connect that to the previous one with those open S-shaped curves that make those beautiful little leaves. Okay, so I just think that this is such a fun way to add a little more decoration to our Under the Sea quilt. You can see this is so much fun. I could do this all day long. And once again, it's such a relaxing process watching that needle just creating this gorgeous design over and over and over again on this little project. Let me cut my threads. And I'm going to bring this over to the big camera with me, so pardon me while I get it out from under the machine. And I can't wait to show you what this lace looks like on my big camera. Okay, good. So here we go. It's just the start of this project, but I wanted to take this out so that I could actually show you up close what that lace looks like. So we're creating what I call lace. It's just a stitched pattern on our stabilizer. Now this stabilizer is heat away. I've never used it before. My guess is that I'm just going to touch it, hover over it with a hot iron, and it's just going to crinkle up and shrivel up and turn into dust. That's my goal. That's my hope. I will let you know, and maybe next week if I can get this stitched out in between, maybe next week, I'm not sure because we have Sandy coming, but maybe I'll be able to show you the heat away process. If not next week, because next week's a busy week. We've got it's not Applique School. We have demo days coming up next week. Demo days is my opportunity to show what the Leaves Galore and the Hearts and More tools can do. Now that spam company, they're not going to show you how to use those tools. There wasn't even instructions inside this package. Look, nothing in there except for the tool itself. So on Wednesday and Thursday night next week, that is the 11th and the 12th, I'll be doing demo days, and I'll be showing everybody how to use the Leaves Galore tools and the Hearts and More tools to cut your applique shapes. Now I know we've run out of time, and I got so interested in doing this lacy look that I was not able to get back to doing that sand dollar. So if we have time when I have Sandy next week, I'll use her quilt inspiration and we'll make that sand dollar. We'll start that one together. This week we did our beautiful little lacy fan. We did that on Sulky Heat Away Stabilizer. We used our octi hoops to hold that stabilizer in place as we were doing our decorative machine stitching. And there you go. Now I'm really curious when we heat this away if all those black lines are also going to disappear. If that stabilizer truly disintegrates the way I think it's going to, we'll be able to get all those black lines out of there as well. So it's kind of fun for me to experiment right here with you. This new product is something that I've never used before. I'm going to report back to you, and I might just write a little blog post about the process so that you can follow along and see how it worked out for me, so that you don't have to make the same mistakes that I make, and we can add this to our list of techniques that we teach in our Ahead of the Curve community, as well as here on my Facebook group. So, yes, you're going to register to receive the Zoom invitation for next week's event. If you'd like to come, we're going to be demoing Leaves Galore. We're going to demo Hearts and More. I found a couple of products that are meant for cleaning your cutting mat. So we're going to talk about cleaning your cutting mat. I'm going to show you a couple of those products. I'm going to show you my 12 favorite tools for rotary cut applique, but I'll also tell you those things that don't waste your money on. Don't bother to buy them. I've kind of narrowed down the tools that work really, really well, and that's what I'll be demonstrating. Okay, so I'll look forward to seeing all of you next week on demo days. And we also have our regular Sewing and Slippers with Sue at 11 o'clock on Tuesday morning. So 1 week from today, we'll have Sandy as our guest. She made that beautiful quilt I showed you earlier. She'll have the quilt with her, and she's going to tell us how she made that beautiful edge treatment, that scalloped and unusual pointed edge treatment on her corners. So we're going to talk all about that quilt. And Sandy is a speaker herself that does guild lectures and workshops. So we'll talk about her contribution to the quilting world. And I can't wait to have you meet Sandy, the president of the Quilters by the Sea Quilt Guild. Well, that's all for now. I will touch base with you next week, and I'll show you some more progress on this project. Take care, everyone, and until next time, happy applique.